All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back here for week number 7 of Backyard Bookies. Scott, we finally hit an upset last weekend. It was a great game, Red River Rivalry. We both cashed out on it. What a fun time that was.
Yeah, it was a pretty Red River rivalry. Say that three times. Game really. It panned out to be one of the games that we see every year between these two teams. They both had some weird mishaps and rewards in the first quarter. Some crazy action in the first quarter, and it just continued throughout the game. And when you get that. When you have those rivalry games, you usually have a pretty close game, and we got one, and Oklahoma came out on top, and know a few people that are pretty happy about it. So yeah,
I
unfortunately,
think
Texas drops to 9, and they need to win a few games and probably win the Big 12 to make it into playoff. But
they're
yeah,
they're a
it was a great
lock.
game.
Essentially. Yeah, but let's see. A pick on the second play of the game, I think. A blocked punt for Texas to get it right back. Just wild stuff. But yeah, Texas doesn't play a real football team the rest of the season. So all they got to do is beat Oklahoma and they'll get rewarded because they have that big win against Bama. But we got a full slate this weekend. Big games. Oregon at Washington. I didn't touch that game. It's too scary for me, but that's the big one on the slate. But let's get to the scores. New month, new scoring. I'm winning. Scott, I'm up. I'm up 4-3 thanks to that Oklahoma upset, giving me 2 points. But it's close. I can't believe it. Like I was saying before the stream, 10-4 in my NFL spread league came in second, and one of the 4 I missed was the one I picked. Thanks, LA. Thanks. But we're not here to think about the past. We're on to Cincinnati. And speaking of Cincinnati, what's your first game for us this week, Scott?
Yeah, so as I do college football, I'm going to the SEC. Not so big game here. Pretty not going to be a very exciting game here. We're going to Nashville, Georgia, Vanderbilt.
Mm.
I will not be tuning into this game because I hope what happens here happens. And, we have the over-under is 56. I'm hoping for an over. Biggest thing here is Vanderbilt gives up a bunch of points. 38, 38, 45, 40, 36 in the last 5. They have not broken a under yet. It's been over every single game. Georgia, basically, if you score 50 and give up a touchdown, then that's a cover for me, and that's might be what happens here. Hopefully, Vanderbilt maybe scores 2. Two and a field goal would be cool. But I need Georgia to pretty much come in guns a blazing and put up 28 in the first quarter, kind of like what they've been doing lately, is putting up a bunch of points early and kind of cruising to the end. But we need that to continue happening, and maybe somehow the Georgia defense gives up a touchdown to just an abysmal team in Vanderbilt. I mean, they have scored a little, 14, 21, 28, 37, 20 in the past 5, so they have scored a little, so we're hoping for some scoring from Vanderbilt. But I really like that number because Vanderbilt has not, there's no under so far with Vanderbilt. So there's 6-0-1 push against Wake Forest. So we want that train to continue. So we're going to go with first game Georgia Vandy over 56.
I'd be a little scared. Now, Georgia could score 56. They look great against Kentucky this past weekend. Like the Georgia we all kind of have known and hated the last 2 seasons. I would just be worried Vandy doesn't score. Like they just do not score a point. But the backdoor, like you said, Georgia hangs a 52 and then they get a backdoor touchdown with the third strings in or whatever. So I don't hate it. I would just be scared. I like a Georgia team total in that game. Maybe look at that, a little bit of action there. I'm going to head to the Big Ten, 11 a.m. kickoff. Maybe we're flipping roles here a little. You do a little SEC, I'll do a little Big Ten garbage here. Michigan State at Rutgers. Now, I'm not going to panic here. Rutgers, they kind of got beat up by Wisconsin last week, but they threw a pick 6 going in at the end of that first half that really swung the tides of this game, like a 98-yard pick 6, and Wisconsin never looked back for them. Michigan State is just awful. Honestly, they're a disaster. I think like 5 guys have entered the transfer portal since Mel Tucker's been fired. It's been rough sledding in East Lansing. And you know what? I don't think Rutgers is that bad. Now, we're going to ignore Rutgers offense. It's not great. Rutgers offense isn't good, but their defense under Shiano has been awesome. Like I said, they lost 24-13 last week. It was a 95-yard pick six, so they gave up 17 last week to the Badgers. That's nothing. You know, 31 to Michigan. Who hasn't given up 31 to Michigan? So I actually like this team a lot. I think Rutgers in a bounce back spot here. I think just the wheels are falling off this Michigan State team. It's only 4.5 here at home, so I'm okay with that. I'm gonna ride with Rutgers. I think they're in a bounce back spot here. Maybe they only score 10 points, but they win this game 10-0. That's a cover for me. So I'm gonna take Rutgers minus 4.5 against Michigan State.
Yeah, looking at the stats, I mean, Rutgers is 5-0-1 against the spread this year. They're one of those teams that haven't have covered every game or pushed. I think they pushed
Michigan. They pushed Michigan.
They pushed one game. So I mean, looking good so far. You're riding a trend here. Just Michigan State. So I mean, it's, like you said, Mel Tucker, gone, not doing well for them. They're 0-2-1 in the last three, not looking good on those. But I mean, who knows? I mean, 4.5 could happen. I mean, if you're riding the Rutgers spread, then you're good to go. So hopefully that happens. I like to pick. Let's see. For my second pick, I was going to pick this game when I was in Denver. Sprinkle a little money on it, but I decided not to because last week I'd put money on the other team, and it was not a fun win. USC Notre Dame.
Oh, I like this game. I like this game a lot.
I had some money on I had some money on USC last week to cover, mostly just because I was with my buddy that went to USC, and I just wanted to have a little skin in the game and watch the game with him, and hopefully his team covered, and it obviously did not. Triple overtime against a bad team. I ended up not being with him for the game, but I told him his team is garbage. I don't know what's going on at USC. They don't teach tackling there. I don't know who number 4 is for USC, but I was watching that game, and that guy was afraid of any contact. He did not want to be in any tackle pile whatsoever. He did not want to tackle a wide receiver, even a running back. And it didn't matter. It was pathetic. I don't think they teach any defense at USC, and they have yet to really play a real team. Let's see who they even played. They played Arizona. They played Colorado. Okay, that's a high offense team.
They almost blew that game. They almost blew the Colorado
game. They almost blew that too. Arizona State, they beat, but didn't cover. Stanford, not a real team. They beat them by 40-46. And then Nevada and whoever they played.
They haven't played any. I mean, it's nobody. Impressive. It's impressively bad, their schedule so far.
They are playing the first of many big games here in the next few weeks. Oregon they have soon. Washington they have soon. Notre Dame is minus 2.5. I think that is absurd. I don't think that Vegas has watched USC play. It's kind of weird. That's only 2.5.
It's on a little
especially
too late.
Notre Dame being in. Was that?
It's on a little too late. Pac-12 after dark. A little too late.
Yeah. I don't know. Notre Dame playing in South Bend. Only 2.5-point favorites. I would absolutely slam that. USC has to play defense to win this game. They have to probably hold Sammy Hartman to 21, 28 points, and Caleb every single week has to play the game of his life. Literally the game of his life every single week for them to win anything. So I can see Notre Dame stopping him more than once. Arizona figured out a way to do it for a little while. He had some miraculous plays at the end, and somehow came away with the win. But 2.5 is absurd. I think it should be over a touchdown, but that's just me. I think the USC hype is a little too high. So for me, Notre Dame minus 2.5, I would slam that. If there was a lock of the week, I'd probably slam that. But we're not doing that this year, so we're gonna metaphorically slam it. So Notre Dame minus 2.5.
I like it. They're playing for a Jewel Shillelagh. It's always a little extra incentive there. I love this. I'd be a little like Notre Dame's offense has been terrible. Like this is their 4th game in 4 weeks. Big time matchups. Ohio State at Duke, at Louisville. They're coming back home. They lost the heartbreaker at home. I think they just kind of ran out of gas against Louisville last week, and I don't think Louisville's a very good team. I think they bounce back. They're going to be jacked up. Like you said, the defense has been awesome. Like, you can't say anything about the defense. They'll probably get a few stops against Caleb, and Notre Dame's offense has to be able to move the ball against this USC defense. And if they can't, Marcus Freeman going to get fired as a head coach because clearly Tommy Rees wasn't the problem. So if I was going to pick a side, I would definitely take Notre Dame here, -2.5. I think is a very good bet from you. All around, I think USC is terrible, and I think Notre Dame is just like they're good, they're not bad, they're not great, but USC just feels like the 5th or 6th best team in the Pac-12. Speaking of terrible losses, maybe the worst loss in the history of college football occurred last weekend.
Yep.
I don't know if anybody saw the Miami Hurricanes against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Probably turned it off. Miami, with a running clock inside of 30 seconds, all they had to do was take a knee. They proceeded to fumble, but not really fumble, but the camera angle was blocked by the one good camera angle was blocked by a Miami receiver. So the call on the field stands. Georgia Tech scores a miracle touchdown with no time left. Players are crying. What's going on? I mean, Mario Cristobal, like, that's a fireable offense. And they got to roll into UNC this weekend. And North Carolina, they've been humming the last few weeks. Honestly, they look good. Had a little bit of a hiccup against App State in week 2 at home. Survived that game. Big thing for this team, they got Tez Walker back. They get their top receiver, and Drake May is going to be able to let it fly. And really, they haven't been relying on Drake May. Pretty balanced. I think he's thrown 8 touchdowns passes, and they have 13 rushing touchdowns. So a balanced attack from this North Carolina team. I don't know if you've heard of this guy, Mac Brown. Kind of can coach some football. Not a bad football coach whatsoever. I have no idea how Miami gets back up after last week. I don't see it. Like, some people say, oh, they'll be fine. It's a new game. Yeah, Miami's looked great, all the things, but they were in a close game with Georgia Tech anyway. Why were they in a close game with Georgia Tech coming off of a bye? Van Dyke had 3 turnovers. I love North Carolina in the spot at home. They just housed Syracuse last weekend 40-7. I think we're going to see a nice Drake May performance here. I think he's going to light it up on a big stage. And I think Miami knows they're done. Like, they're not making the playoff as a one-loss ACC team. There's too many good teams out there this year. And I think you just kind of lose the locker room after a loss like that. So I'm going to ride with the better quarterback. I know Van Dyke's been good, but I think Drake May is the second best quarterback in the country. I'm going to ride with the better coach in Mac Brown. I'm going to ride with a team that is still undefeated and still has everything to play for in the ACC. So I'm going to take the Tar Heels at home -3.5. That's nothing. Just over a field goal. I'm fine with that. Less than a touchdown. All good all the time for me. So UNC -3.5 against Miami.
Yeah, I didn't like Mario's comments after the game either. He kind of he didn't take any
Responsibility
any
at
blame
all.
for it. He basically just blamed his running back. He said he should have had 2 hands on the ball. I think that's pretty poor leadership there. I think I figured he might get fired after that game, but he didn't.
Too expensive.
For me in this, yeah, exactly. For me in this one, I don't think I would probably play this one. I think it's almost too obvious to pick UNC. I mean, that's kind of like, okay, Miami's coming off a bad one. They should lose a bad loss. They should lose next week. And I mean, I just wouldn't want to touch it. I don't know.
I just think
have a
UNC's
feeling
good.
you don't.
I think UNC's good is the problem.
They are good. I mean, they have a great quarterback who's going to be a top 5 pick, but at the same time, it just seems a little too odd. We don't actually know what's going on in the locker room for them. They might have, turned on Cristobal. They might have, or they might have been like, yo, we're.
I just saw the sideline react.
It wasn't our fault for losing the game, and we're going to come back out and try and, beat up on UNC. Like I said, I mean, I wouldn't pick it regardless. For me, it seemed a little too obvious, and I wouldn't. I'd probably just stay away from it. But we'll see what happens. So, but honestly, the pick itself, I don't mind. I think UNC is obviously the better team, but it's just we don't really know where the Miami.
We're gonna ride with Tez.
Really
we're gonna ride with Tez.
So,
we're gonna ride with Tez.
Yeah,
if I was laying more than a touchdown, I would agree with you. It's only put me a 4-point game at home, baby.
Yeah. For my third one, this one's gone down a little bit since I picked it. It's our game, Tennessee and Texas A&M. Obviously, if you've
totals, he's
tuned
betting
in,
the total.
I don't pick the spread. I only pick the total this one. I don't pick my own teams. Over-under is 55.5 sitting there. I got it at 56. For me, Tennessee really hasn't played a decent defense. I mean, we're not great. We held Alabama to 26, but I would be a little scared that we're basically playing another running back this week that can throw a ball really far. That's pretty much they're the same player. I think literally Milroe and Milton are the exact same player. So one we've played a quarterback that does that. I think Milton is definitely better than Milroe, but
Oh, I was gonna go the
um,
other way. I think Milroe's a little bit better under pressure. We sacked Milroe 7 times. I think Milton's gonna fold under this pressure here.
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he's at home as well, so
This could help.
he's gonna have Knoxville behind him. I am going to take the under in this one.
Mhm.
56. I think Tennessee's played. They played well against bad teams. They put up 41 against South Carolina, 45 against UTSA. Didn't do well against Florida, obviously, 16 there. But I mean, they're not legit, but they're a good SEC team, a decent SEC team. They played Utah, wasn't a very good loss, but um, I mean, APSU, I'm not even sure what team that is. They put up 30, probably in a stinker, but and then Virginia 49. They played good teams. They played bad teams well. Haven't played a good defense, and I don't think that Max is going to do as well this week. I think they're not playing for anything now. It's pretty much over. They're probably playing for a mid-December bowl game at this point. Maybe barely end of December bowl game. It's really over. I don't think Jimbo's doing. Obviously, Jimbo isn't doing what he needs to be doing. So they got nothing to play for. Anias and Evan Stewart are probably playing to go to the draft soon. Anias is at least. I think Evan Stewart still has another year, but nothing to play for. I think they're going to be a little underwhelmed. So 56, I think, is too much. It could be like a 21 or 28-20 kind of game, and that's kind of how the A&M games have been. Really this year. Besides Monroe, they've been in, I guess, Miami, but last three have been in the 20s and low 30s.
With Max,
So
with Max, that's the big
yeah,
key
with
there.
Max.
And they
So
seem to be go ahead, go ahead.
but yeah, they've covered in the last two, but it's just been barely. They don't really cover their spreads by much if they do. So in this one, I just don't see them getting over 56. So I'm taking the under.
They're great. I mean, they're great in the first half. What I'd be worried about here is if Max is awesome in the first half, they score 3 touchdowns, which could easily happen. But the second half, he is just not comfortable. They take away the safety options. They get a little bit of pressure, and he's got happy feet in the pocket. So if you're sitting pretty after that first half, I think you're a lock for this one. I agree. I think it's going to be an interesting game kind of matchup. Overall, what's it? A&M's laying 3. Are they getting 3 here? It's like a
Laying three, or
yeah. So
they're getting three. They're
getting
getting
3,
three.
yeah, it's a Vegas still has A&M rated pretty well, all things considered. But all right, I'm gonna move over to the NFL. Gonna go a little awkward here. I lost my paper. I couldn't find it. I had this stat written down for this, so I'm kind of gonna eyeball at this. So don't take the stat I'm about to throw out here in a second. Monday Night Football, baby. Cowboys at the Chargers. Cowboys coming off of a shellacking at the 49ers. Just really, really rough stuff. And the Chargers had a bye last week. And not only did they have a bye, they got their little toy that they like to move around and play with in Austin Eckler, one of the best pass catching running backs, one of the best running backs in the NFL. He is back from his ankle injury. He's been out since week 2. I think this is a really bad spot for the Cowboys. I know this stat. Teams after playing San Francisco since last year are 2-17 after playing the 49ers. The Niners beat you up physically, they beat you up mentally. And one of those wins was Pittsburgh against Cleveland this year. And Deshaun Watson forgot how to play football in that game. So Pittsburgh should have lost that game, and Nick Chubb lost a knee. So we're looking at 1-18 after playing San Francisco over the last year plus or so. I think this is a terrible spot for Dallas. This is the stat I did lose. Herbert's something ridiculous. First half covers. He's awesome. He's like 24-2 or something like that, and he's like 8-0 in primetime games in first half covers. It's when they get into the second half and they charger things up. It all goes to shit. But on the first half, on a game plan, and we got us a revenge game. Kellen Moore, former offensive coordinator in Dallas, he knows where Dak is weak. He knows where this offense has holes, and he knows where this defense has holes. And honestly, who's covering Keenan Allen on this team? Nobody. I mean, Trayvon Diggs is out. Stephon Gilmore's not covering Keenan Allen. I think this is a statement first half for the Chargers here, and I'm getting half a point at home in the first half. This is just absurd. I think the Chargers jump out to a nice lead. I think they're going to start fast. Now, they may charger this thing up and lose it down the stretch, but I think this is a bad spot for the Cowboys, and I think this is a great spot for the Chargers and Herbert. Kellen Moore redemption. Like I said, Herbert's awesome early first half in primetime especially. He's been great, and Herbert's just good all around in primetime. So I think the Cowboys are just this is a bad spot for them. Now they do get the extra day. I don't know if they stayed out west. I hope they didn't, because if they're traveling back and forth, that would be a real problem for them. But yeah, Chargers redemption game coming off a bye. This is going to be trouble. So I'm getting half a point here in the first half. So just tie the first half for me. I'm going to take the Chargers here plus a half a point in the first half.
Yeah, I was debating picking the Chargers as one of my games. Yeah, like you said, Eckler's coming back. That's big time. Doesn't have to worry about Josh Kelly or even Isaiah Spiller behind him. He's got a real running back who can catch balls, scores a bunch of touchdowns. So that's big for him. Justin Herbert's been doing really well this year. A lot of talk about Dak just being bad by everybody. I don't know if he's listening to it. I hope he's not. But everybody in the sports media is just bashing him. It's tough to hear, but yeah, I mean the Cowboys have a few injuries on defense. They can, Chargers can definitely capitalize on that. But yeah, I was definitely considering Chargers plus 2.5 as one of my games. So don't hate the pick, like you said. Ty's gonna win for you. So just getting that half point. The hook always
always helps.
It's only a half point,
helps.
but man, sometimes it's big. So yeah, I don't hate the pick at all.
All right. Let's go to your prop.
All right, prop. We're going to the National Football League here. We're doing a receiving prop.
Ooh.
We did last week with Jalen Waddle. He also had another guy on the other side of him, Tyreek Hill, who catches a bunch of passes too. And Jalen Waddle didn't get his receptions. He got a touchdown, but he got a touchdown, but he didn't get any yards. This week is a little different. I'm going to the Rams and the Cardinals. Cardinals defense isn't too good.
Not good at all. Pretty bad.
And Matt Stafford got Cooper Kupp back. Obviously, you would assume that they would be, mostly spraying the ball out. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp just kind of, sharing duties, but that was not the case last week. It was sort of the case, but not fully the case. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp both got, I think, over 10 targets, which is crazy. So basically, he's just spreading it to both of them. We thought Cooper Kupp might have a slow start, and he didn't.
I think he was 5 for 5 the first drive, 5 for 56, something like that, first drive last week.
Yeah, it was. He came off hot. He started off hot and didn't slow down. Let's see what the actual stats were here. 12 targets for Cooper Kupp, 11 for Puka Nacua, 118 for Kupp, and 71 for Nacua. I mean, obviously he's spreading it out. Nakua's still getting his touches. I like Cooper Kupp in this one to get even more targets. He's back, 1 game under his belt. Maybe gets 15 targets, 10 catches. His prop is 85.5. A little different from last week with picking Jalen Waddle with the under. I'm going over in this one. I'd like him to catch 10 balls, get his slants, get his little curls, 15 yards at a time, just like he's used to. Cardinals not great on defense, so I think Matt Stafford carves him up a little bit. Puka Nacua is going to get his touches, but I just don't think his production is going to last as much as with Cooper Kupp being back. So run game isn't great. Kyron Williams is doing all right, but with Cam Akers gone and really no other
they just throw the
option
ball. They don't care
behind him, it's going to be a throw fest for both of them, or for Matt Stafford. So I like over 85.5 for Cooper Kupp. Nacua is going to get his touches. I think his props around 66. So they expect a lot of yards from both of them, but Cooper Cup's the horse, so I expect him to get more catches this week than last week.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Arizona's defense could get to Joe Burrow. I mean, and with a clean pocket, Matthew Stafford is a happy man, and he'll distribute the rock. And the Rams kind of need this game. Season's kind of teetering. They're still hanging around. I even kind of like the 7 here. Arizona's feisty, but I think Arizona might be. This might be the tipping point after last week, where Arizona just kind of. This is the Cardinals we knew they were. We kind of thought they were. But so I like Cooper Cup. Always. I got a game here in the Windy City, and it's supposed to be ugly out there. It's supposed to be rainy. It's supposed to be muddy. It's supposed to be typical Chicago weather. And we got a couple of quarterbacks in this. One quarterback on the up, the other quarterback, they're talking about him getting traded. Kirk Cousins has been lighting it up, but the weather facilitates, running. We're going to run the football. Chicago's got no running backs, but they do have a quarterback that can run the football. So I'm thinking we're going to see some rushing yards from the quarterback position. Saying that, I'm taking Kirk Cousins over 1.5 yards for the game. Kirk with the quarterback sneak. He's going to lay it on the line. They don't have Justin Jefferson anymore. The run game has been pretty awful. They lead the league in passing touchdowns. They are tied for the bottom in rushing touchdowns with 0 on the season. I think they're going to find themselves in a couple of 3rd and 1s, and their offense in that situation is basically the brotherly shove. They run it with Cousins to perfection. It picks up a yard every time. Nobody talks about it because it just doesn't look as pretty, but they run the sneak a lot with Cousins. This is, I think, a big advantage for them. Thank God you don't lose rushing yards for taking sacks, because that would be a concern in this game in the NFL. But yeah, the Vegas loves the Vikings in this game. I could see us losing this game, or it's going to be a 1-score game. But I think Cousins going to lay it out there on the line. He doesn't want to get traded. He wants to stay in Minnesota. He's kind of heartbroken by the whole situation. I think that the regime wants him gone and they want a new quarterback. So I expect he's going to lay it out there. He's going to scramble. He's going to pick up some spicy yards. I need 2 yards. 2 quarterback sneaks for a yard. That's all I need on this one. So yeah, I'm going to ride with Kirk, 1.5 yards. And if I lose it from him taking a kneel, so be it. It is what it is. So I like Cousins over 1.5 rushing yards in a sloppy, ugly Chicago noon game.
Yeah, it's always kind of fun to pick the non-mobile quarterback rushing yards over because it literally comes down to one play typically. A punch in for a touchdown, or a kneel down sometimes. Sometimes there's some quarterback has 11 yards and they need to cover, and a kneel down kills them for 2 yards, and they don't cover eventually at the end of the game. So
Yeah.
those are always scary. But I have seen Kirk Cousins do the tush push, and they get it done pretty well. They probably do it as good as maybe not as good as Philly, but they do it
Successfully.
very well. They do it very
Second
well there.
best, maybe. We might be second
Yeah,
best.
very well. So, yeah, you pretty much are going to be waiting the entire game to see a touch push or a
Broken
QB
play.
sneak or something.
Scramble.
Those are
A
always
broken
fun.
play, he runs for 6. And I'm
Yeah.
good.
So those are
Those are
always
fun.
interesting. You're waiting the entire game, and sometimes it doesn't happen at all. So, but I do like to bet it is -125, so you're getting a little more than a favorite. So yeah, I do like the pick. I think he'll have to push for a 4th and 1, or push in for a touchdown at some point.
We'll go 3rd and goal at the 3. We're running it 3 times or 2 times from there. All right, give us some honorable mentions. Who you got for us? Some honorable mentions, and then give us your dog.
So let's see how many I have here. I've got 5 here. NC
Jeez.
State +3.5 at Duke. This isn't a rivalry game per se, but it is an in-state game. Typically, if it's a rivalry or in-state game, sort of. This is more rivalry than in-state, maybe.
It's a basketball rivalry, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say Texas and Baylor is a rivalry game. They're the same state, but in this case, Duke, North Carolina State are both relatively close in-state rivals-ish. I'm taking NC State +3.5. That's usually what I do with rivalry games. I kind of, I take the underdog plus the points. Obviously, I didn't with Notre Dame and UNC and USC, but little different circumstances here. Cal Utah under. I'm not sure what the stats are here. I could take a look, but I feel like Utah doesn't. They have a great great defense, but they don't score. So that's kind of a equation for an under. Cal decent. They're decent. They like to score a little bit, which also kind of jumps into my other money line that I was going to pick, but didn't. Cal plus 440 at Utah. I feel like Cal might end up winning this game. Utah's quarterback troubles are just they're
How bad is
they have a
Kansas
running
just must
back
be
and quarterback,
awful.
a quarterback that also can't throw. So it unless Cal, lets him do whatever he wants, I feel like Cal can definitely upset him. I think it's like 13.5. I'd probably take Cal plus 13.5 for sure, but money line 440, I'd probably sprinkle a little bit if I could. Air Force minus 10.5 at Wyoming. Actually, they're at home. Air Force quietly pretty good.
Great defense.
Wyoming, they've beat Tech, but Air Force, interesting team, great defense, and it's hard to stop that triple option if you haven't seen it. If you're, not a good team, then it's gonna be hard to stop it. I have Auburn, LSU over 61. LSU is just like your Rutgers team, have not had an under this year so far. They'll put up 50, and Auburn will put up 20. I feel like, and that'll be a cover.
I'd be
And then
worried
I
about
have
that one.
yeah, then I have Oklahoma State plus 3 against Kansas. Jaden Daniels not playing, or he's at least doubtful. So that's a little scary one. Kansas still can beat
Dean's
Oklahoma
not
State. Oklahoma
bad.
State's a bad team, but Kansas is at home. Actually, Oklahoma State's at home, so gives them a little bit of a little bit
And
of
they had an extra
juice.
day. Had an extra day. I
Yeah,
like that.
that's my last one.
All right, what's your dog? What's the
All
pick?
right, so I didn't pick a Big Ten game yet, so obviously I have to.
I'm gonna have to take the other
Um,
one.
yeah, I have Iowa, Wisconsin.
This is what I
Um,
have. I have two written down. Iowa. I was gonna take Iowa, but go ahead. I'll take the other one.
Yeah, 34.5 is the over under. That is terrifying. I'm not taking that. I'm not that crazy. I'm a little crazy picking a 30 something over under, but I'm not this crazy. This is looking to be a very very low scoring game. The spread is 10, which is telling me, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't. The points are a little more valuable when it's 10. Plus 285 currently is Iowa. Um, I don't love this game. I don't like rooting on Iowa. They're
They're
bad.
bad.
They're really really bad. But number wise, I like the number plus 285. I have it on here too as well. Yeah, just those points are more valuable in those smaller spread games, and I just feel like potentially Iowa could win. It's not really.
It's not gonna be
I
a
think
high
they
scoring
will.
game. It's not gonna be a high
It could
scoring
it,
game.
it could be a barn burner. Who knows? But yeah, that's really the only. I think I looked through the games 3 or 4 times, and I just really couldn't find a decent plus 200 plus
Plus, yep.
money line dog. This was really the best one besides maybe the Cal one, which I wasn't about to pick against Utah, but for this one, Iowa, I just like the spread, and I
Like it.
figured the value is pretty good. So we're gonna go Iowa plus 285.
I had it written down, like this game a lot. It is on the road. It's only concerning. I don't think Wisconsin's very good. Iowa was okay with the backup. They scored 20 points against a bad Purdue team. So I like this one a lot. Hopefully it loses now that I will not take it. I have another one written down. I'll go with that. My honorable mentions. If you want to go off the trail here, Miami of Ohio minus 8.5 against Western Michigan. Western Michigan is a trash MAC team. Miami of Ohio is going to win the MAC this year. So I like Miami of Ohio. Ravens -4 against Tennessee in London. I think the Ravens have a bounce back game. Tennessee, they traveled late in the week. Baltimore's been there since Monday. I like teams that get to London early, get acclimated. Josh Allen under half an interception. He's had this trend. One turn, he turns the ball over. He doesn't turn the ball over. He turns the ball over. He doesn't. It held true last week. I had it as an honorable last week, turning the ball over. This week, no turnover. So under half an interception for Josh Allen. Jags -4 versus Indy. Everyone's on Indy. Jacksonville hasn't lost to Indy in Jacksonville since like 2015. And the Jags have been pretty awful in that stretch. In fact, they won one game in that stretch, and it was against Indy at home. Who knows what Gardner Minshew's going to look like knowing he's starting. I don't know if they're going to try and change the offense. So there. All right, for my upset, I don't love this pick. Like you said, it was kind of a really bad week for upsets, just plus 200 or better. Nothing screams at you. I'm going to take a home team here. This team is terrible. They're awful. And they're playing an undefeated team. So this just feels like a bad spot. But I have a feeling. Give me the Pitt Panthers plus 240 against undefeated Louisville at home. I don't think Louisville's that good. They played a game with Indiana that they were losing most of. They won that game by a touchdown. I think Notre Dame was just kind of out of gas, and it was everything for that Louisville team to win that game. They stormed the field. It's a lot of high emotion. It's time for an emotional letdown. Pitt, they're not great. I'm going to be honest. They got housed by Georgia Tech or Virginia Tech last week, I believe. And Virginia Tech is maybe the worst team, one of the worst teams we've talked about in a Power 5 school. But they're only getting 7.5 here. People like Pitt. I mean, the 75% of the bets are on Pitt. People have a feeling about Pitt here. I think they're kind of seeing the trend that Louisville is slightly overrated. Pitt's defense is good. I'll give them that. Pitt's defense has been very good, and they should be able to stop Louisville slightly. I mean, they had a bad week against Virginia Tech last week. That's about it. They had a bad week against UNC. Why are they ranked so high? They're ranked 16th and 23rd on defense. They get people. Whatever. I'm taking Pitt here. I liked Iowa, but I'm going to go with Pitt here. I think it's just one of those weird spots. It's one of those spots where a team that is severely overrated. Louisville is not good. They're 6-0. They're not that team. They're not those guys. I mean, they're just not. They barely beat Indiana, who's awful. They barely beat NC State, who we talked about, just like is kind of whatever. I think this is a spot here for Pitt. So I'm gonna go down with the Pitt Panthers. 1-4 Pitt Panthers, who I think are awful, but plus 240 is just too good of value here for me. All right.
I mean, for me, it's like Pitt's playing at home. This could be kind of a motivation game for them a little bit. With Louisville coming off their big game against Notre Dame, they could definitely get upended. I don't hate the pick at all.
I'm glad you're more confident than I am on this one. But all right, let's recap your picks here, and we will wrap it up.
So Georgia, Vandy over 56. Notre Dame minus 2.5 against USC. Play some defense, USC. My God, it's abysmal. A&M and Tennessee under 56. For my prop, Cooper Kupp over 85.5 yards receiving, and then the dog is Iowa plus 285 at Wisconsin.
All right. I got Rutgers minus 4.5 against Michigan State. Go Big Ten football. I got UNC minus 3.5 versus Miami after a huge letdown I'm expecting. I got the Chargers plus 0.5 in the first half against the Cowboys on Monday night. So we'll sweat out this week till the very end. I got Kirk Cousins over 1.5 rushing yards. God bless us at this point. And I'm going with the Pitt Panthers plus 240 to upset the undefeated Louisville Cardinals. Another excellent weeks of picks. Thanks for everybody stopping by. If you haven't already, drop a like on this video. It really helps the video out. We got to defeat the algorithm overlords. If you enjoy this content, subscribe to the channel. We got new videos every single day. We'll be back here again next week as always, and best of luck to everybody.